Hello, my name is Phil Easter, historian and writer from Baltimore, Maryland, also known as the Amazing Memory Man. We're recording tonight on Sunday, February 18th, 2024. This is story number 46 on my YouTube channel, which is Phil Easter, the Amazing Memory Man. 2 days ago, on Friday, February 16th, 2024, the world lost a great and courageous man. Alexei Navalny died in a prison in Western Siberia in Russia. The exact cause of death is still not really known, but he was put in that prison almost 3 years ago by Russian President Putin, when he returned from living in Germany for a while. Even back then, he had been poisoned on an airplane sometime around 2019 or 2020, an airplane in Russia, where they had to make an emergency stop, and then he was flown to Germany, where he got better medical treatment for a while. And he was able to speak to the Western press a number of times about the corruption with the Putin government in Russia and how human rights were being suppressed. But he went back a long way. He didn't just start then talking about those things, even in the earlier part of this century. But first, I'd like to mention that Navalny was born on June 4th, 1976, in Putin, Russia. His father was an officer in the Soviet Army. His mother was an economist. Sometimes when he was a young boy, he would spend the summers with his paternal grandmother at Chernobyl in the Ukraine. At that time, the USSR was made up of 16 different republics. Russia was always the largest one in physical size and also in population, by far the largest. But there were actually 16 different republics, including Ukraine, until the Soviet Union broke up around 1991. When then each of these countries became an independent nation. Navalny went to a university in Moscow called the People's Friendship University of Russia, and in 1998 he received a law degree. A few years later, he also received an economics degree from another college, and he joined a political party that was dedicated to having more liberal reforms and a free market economy. Now, Putin was president the first time from about the year 2000 until 2008. Boris Yeltsin was the first president of the new Russia after it broke up from the Soviet Union from about 1991 to 1999. Then Putin became the second president for a while, up until 2008. And then for the next 4 years, another Russian leader whose name begins with the letter M. I freely admit it's hard to pronounce the name, but I know it begins with letter M. He was president for 4 years, from 2008 to 2012, and then Putin became president again in 2012. He won the election. And according to the Constitution, the Russian president serves a 6-year term. So Putin ran again in 2018, and sometime this year will be another election where he is expected to win. But Navalny and other dissidents pointed out the incredible corruption and an amount of money that was not used properly. They estimate came to 1 trillion rubles, which is $31 billion in US money. But the worst thing, of course, is suppressing people's freedom of speech and other human rights. And that's what Navalny was pointing out about Putin for years. But he spent time in Germany after he was poisoned, but then decided to return to Russia in 2021. He was hoping to have a sizable opposition because many people do not like Putin, though many are afraid to publicly announce that, of course, because they often get arrested. But barely did he get off the airplane in 21, he was arrested by police and then sent to prison. And he died this past Friday, February 16th, under very questionable circumstances, really. It's hard to say at this time whether Putin sent men to his prison cell to directly murder him or not, but the typical conditions of living in a prison in Siberia, the extreme cold and other harsh elements, at least that could most likely contribute to his death if he wasn't killed more directly. And it's very sad that this man who stood for human rights dies at age 47. His dream of a democratic Russia, I hope, will come about someday. And I do think it will eventually. But obviously, it's not as long as Putin is the leader of Russia, and we don't know who the next leader will be. But someday, hopefully, Navalny's dream of a democratic Russia will come true. Like other great men in history who stood for human rights, President Abraham Lincoln, Mahatma Gandhi of India, and civil rights leader Martin Luther King, cut down by those who hate and don't want more freedom. Alexei Navalny, a brave man who died Friday, February 16th, 2024. This is Phil Easter. As the great CBS television newsman Edward R. Murrow said back in the 1950s when he finished his broadcast, good night and good luck.